How do you feel the British perceive Americans?
I feel like there's quite a lot of, I hate to say it, but mockery involved.
I think a lot of people think Americans are extreme.
Do you think that the British think that they're better than Americans?
I think some do, yeah.
There's a lot to make fun of, I think.
We're also fantastic at queuing as well. That's another great thing about us.
Rubbing me the wrong way because they're too extra. It doesn't seem like it's genuine.
Too extra, huh?
Today, I'm in London to get to the bottom.
Hey, look, first thing I want to say, I'm glad and I appreciate that some of y'all from the UK are in these comments, man. Because y'all been biting down on what they claim is being like. Y'all really been calling it for what it is and reflecting that mirror back on some of these Europeans, man. So I appreciate y'all. But let me see what they got to say today, bro. Now, it's like the title says, why does the British look down on Americans? That's ironic, but let's see what they got to say, though. I'm curious, bro. I'm going to go ahead and skip the intro. I really just want to get right to it. So let's see. Come on.
Feel perceived as
original channel
America,
video
right,
will be in the description.
It's terrible that everyone's first attitude is, oh, you're from America, are you? Oh.
That is bad though. Like, why do we got a bad rep like that, man? But then it's a good thing because some people like it, some people don't.
You know, which is always a bit, you always feel a bit bad about that because I'm not entirely sure why we still do that, but you know.
Yeah. How do you feel perceived as Americans by the British here in London?
A big, stupid, bellowing oaf. Really? Yeah, genuinely.
That's
I always feel like I have
us?
to apologize for being Americans. Like, I know my accent's the worst thing you'll hear today, but can I just order a coffee?
Damn, that, bro, I'm thinking about it now, like, because I'm looking at it from a different, because the energy is different because they in the UK. So I'm looking at it from a British person, right, and hearing that accent. I'm actually hearing her. She got an accent. I can hear it now. That's it. That's an American accent all day. I'm just used to it because I hear it so much.
I feel like it's been a little bit different. I think that might be somewhat informed by the fact that I'm a student here.
Okay.
At first, it was a bit of a
replicate
learning
that?
curve. Like when I would speak loudly on the tube, I would kind of get looks, and people would tell me like,
it's
being
so
American,
different.
like maybe not.
They could be like if they just had a UK accent, they could go off. I would think they was UK.
In America, America potentially
I would think they was
quite
European.
a difficult place to live, especially if
Accent
you're
changes
of colour
everything,
or
bro.
from the Middle East.
Whoa.
Loudly on the tube,
What'd
I
she
would kind
say?
of get looks, and people would
She
tell me
said
like,
something
you're
that we should
being
listen
American,
to.
like can you maybe not?
There's definitely sort of a sense that there is a lot of difficult things going on in America.
Oh,
and
yeah,
America
for sure.
potentially could be quite a difficult place to live,
sure.
especially if you're of colour or
Yeah.
from the Middle East.
Previous videos on
Honestly though, to touch on that though, I think it is, but then it's like, it's not. Like in my day-to-day life, I'm not really having too many like problems because of my color, but systematically though, and as a whole, because I'm just one person, as a whole, it is difficult for sure. But if you really want to win, you can make it happen though. You can for sure.
One
Feel
foot in
that.
Europe, one foot
It's a
like in the
vibe.
Americas. It
It's a
feels
vibe.
like it should be in the middle of the Atlantic. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a pretty
It's a
conclusive
vibe.
idea.
It looked
Yeah, I
like
think
a
that's
vibe.
definitely true because a lot of
Bad
people wouldn't
vibe.
even class England as being in Europe. You know, even in England, when you talk about going to Europe, no one ever thinks you mean Doncaster. They always think you mean Germany. You do get some perception that everyone's some sort of
He
like
give
a
me
Valley
American
girl accent or
vibes. I
something
don't know
like that,
what
and I
it
think
is.
that annoys people quite a lot. But then again, it's the same way that English people are often perceived as all sort of being from London. The American dream, making yourself better and being seen to be self-improving, and it's a lot about earning money and being the best you can and going to the gym.
Facts,
and all
it
these
is,
kind of
though.
things.
It
Are you
is,
saying it's
like-
positive or negative?
I don't like it. It really is because everything he said, that's what runs in my mind all day. I promise you, that's what runs through my mind. Even as I'm watching this video, even that's why I'm here. That's why I'm on YouTube because I'm trying to thrive. You see what I'm saying? So he's absolutely correct, bro.
Negative.
I think it's a positive thing for Americans,
That's really
but I think
wild.
the way it's perceived is often everyone goes, "Oh, get out of my face," you know.
Yeah, it's
'cause they
perceived
probably-
like we're just
no one likes to
inhumane
enjoy
rabbits
someone
that
else's
work
success,
all
at
day,
least in
every
England
day.
Anyway, I think in America it's probably very different. Oh, great!
I'm glad that he said that. That really just changed the perspective because him saying that, it don't sound like he mad or hating on Americans. It sounds like he's looking at it from a whole another lens I never thought about.
You know, I think
The identity of being American is like such a thing
Right.
that I don't think other places have
It's
that
a
as
starter
much.
kit.
I don't
like-
think people are necessarily dumb, and I don't think it's a question of being dumb. I think it's just that there's this idea of like, being the best. To think that like people in America, depending on where you're born, you can have access to care or not, it's frightening. And I don't know how you can speak about being the best when you can't even make sure that everybody's like taking
but we are the best. Okay, look, I'm gonna break this down, bro. So whenever we say we're the best, right? We mean is like competitive wise. Like there's nothing that it's basically saying we don't want to be like you. And other people do what we do as Americans. It's like other people are copying us, so it makes you feel like the best. So if you walked around, and people was trying to be like you every day, you would think like, yeah, you're the best. I'm pretty sure you got some Germany people, like some Asian people trying to copy American Asians in this way, and then you got some Germany like white people trying to copy some white Americans in this way. Like, it's just every different group in America is leading the way for other people. That's how I might be wrong, I don't know, but that's what I see. That's what we mean whenever we say we the best. And then it seems like America kind of sets the standard for everything else. Like, it just sets the standard of what's normal and what's cool. That's what we mean.
Care of?
But
Are you treating everyone the same
saying.
way in America? No, not everyone.
I like that, Europe, I like that, but she's right though. In that sense, definitely not the best. For sure.
Obviously as a joke, but just like, do you know the royal family or anything like that?
So do you feel that generally, the big generalization, there's mockery towards the Americans and Americans towards the British is more like cute. We think you're cute.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
How do you feel about Americans thinking you're cute?
It's a good way of explaining that.
Well, it can be taken as a compliment, obviously, but if they think that we're, like, as a country, not really a force to be reckoned with, then just because we do all these, like, things that date back to long before the US was established, it's not really relevant that they can mock.
And what's funny is, like, Britain is very small compared to America. You can't even compete.
Is it condescending, would you say?
A little bit.
Or ignorant?
More ignorant.
And that's a good
it doesn't
way
like
to look
hurt
at
me.
it as far
How do you feel Americans
saying
perceive the British?
Americans perceive the British as cute. That's the best way. That's the
you
best.
feel that?
Like, that is the best description. That's the best adjective you could have said. What's his name? Nathaniel. That is ND. That is the best adjective you could have used. Americans look at the British as cute. Absolutely right.
Like, Americans think like they're on the top of everything, and there's always competition between the two.
So do you feel like the British have a chip on their shoulder a little bit because of that?
Yeah, a lot.
What do you think the British are better at than Americans?
Being polite, really.
More polite?
Yeah, more talkative, more helpful.
More helpful? The British are more helpful?
Yeah, than Americans. But Americans are nice, they're funny, got good music.
Got good music,
music,
okay.
amazing
well, the British
music.
have good music too, man.
Americans are
music.
taking over the music scene.
But I mean, come on, there's a lot of great British music. So here's the thing that I think is going on here. We are not this.
It's enough good British music. It's not a lot of great British music. Let's start there.
It's the Brits and the Americans. But we sure have a lot of similarities. Compare us to the Japanese or to Native Americans or to Ethiopians, and the differences between Americans and the British seems relatively small. We're like blood siblings in the village that is the globe. So here's what.
That's because didn't the people who came to America and colonized America, didn't they come from the UK? So it's really like the same people. Whenever he's saying it's similar, it's because the origins, like the foundation is the same. Is it not? Like, am I misinformed? Am I wrong?
What all of this started to make me think of. There's a concept in psychoanalysis, I'm going to read you the definition, but it's called the narcissism of small differences. This comes from Freud. The narcissism of small differences is the idea that the more a relationship or community shares commonalities, the more likely the people in it are to engage in interpersonal feuds and mutual ridicule because of hypersensitivity to minor differences perceived in each other.
Makes sense.
We
That's
see
why
this, I feel, like we make the little things that make us different much bigger than they really are.
The way that we speak and the words that we use.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah.
About
We were
certain
talking
words.
about things like autumn versus fall. And it's like that's often
that
something
accent,
that people like bring up.
Bro,
and
one thing about y'all though, I like this accent though, bro. Like the UK accent. I'm not saying this in a sexy type of way. I'm saying like hearing y'all speak, it's cool. Like it's proper because it sounds like you are so articulate and you know, even if you could be saying something dumb, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Like you just a genius. I fuck with that, bro.
Well, it's because
For
it's
y'all
a
that don't know.
simpler word, and it's like, fall.
It just sounds so
American.
proper.
You guys don't say
Classic.
fall?
No, we don't say fall. We
Oh,
say
interesting.
autumn.
Okay.
So this is autumn.
You know what I'm saying?
Not fall.
But you can say autumn as well. Halfway across the Atlantic, not just off the coast of continental Europe. And by that I mean culturally.
He looks just like this guy. Look at him, right? And then look at him.
Halfway across the Atlantic, not just
Look at him right there with the glasses. This is him in a different universe.
off the coast of continental Europe.
That's
And
literally
by that I
him.
mean culturally, it feels so
Wait,
much
was
more
that a
similar
him?
to the life that I had in the US. The convenience of life, the speed, the capitalism, the language.
Everyone
That's a
speaks
good one.
English. Everyone's
The
like got the
capitalism
same
is a
sort
good one, too.
of core values. I'm not necessarily a big Christian person at all, but we all come from this like Christian-based countries. America and Australia are English. There's some things that happen in history, but at the end of the day, we're kind of all the same group of of people in that regard.
Culturally influenced.
Culturally influenced by the same group. So I personally don't see many differences at all.
I mean, I've got wonderful
I
American
get that because
friends
he gave
who
me the
I
vibes
adore.
like somebody
So that question
3
for you is a
houses down
difficult
from
one
me,
because
right?
I
Of
think
course.
they're
3 doors down.
great, they're fantastic. I think the difference is in the way our language is, in the way we use different words. That's where there's a difference.
So
But
pretty
as-
minor.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes some of the British media or the portion of the British population that looks down on Americans, is it a way to deflect some of the issues that exist here? Could that be said of all societies?
Yeah, you can say that of all societies, but you can also say that about the media. They're always distracting, aren't they, from topics, whatever it is.
America's seen as very alpha male, if you think about it in terms of masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
There's an alpha maleness to Americans. And maybe it's just the way they speak, the accent, but you don't really have that sense of...
Bro, it is
there's a stereotype.
It is so weird to see him and then hear that voice.
Speak, the accent, but you don't really have that sense of Britain. I think there's a stereotype of the repressed male, that soft-spoken.
Considering we're like right on the edge of Europe, we have more in common with America in many ways than we do with the rest of Europe, which in theory is where we should be more.
That is interesting though. So earlier I was saying like, it comes from the same people because the same people who colonized America comes from over there, right? But that makes you think, why is it that Britain is similar to America and then not Germany and not like Romania, areas that's over there? That is interesting.
And I think there's sort of something that can feel sort of slightly odd about that, like with the whole Brexit thing, breaking away more from where we're most closely connected to and sort of being in a situation where, we're going to end up with chlorinated chicken instead.
There's a
She lost me. Once she said that B word, she lost me.
They're simplistic, really.
Are you like
bro, he is
annoyed
American
by the
like,
Americans here?
Bro, he is American. There's no way like he is American. You not fooling me, Gray Beanie. You not fooling me. You just you went to America. You was running from something over. You went to Europe. You was running from something over here. Changed your whole name. Got a whole new outfit. A whole new identity. And you got an accent. And you're doing good at it. He's American, bro. No way.
They're simplistic, really.
Are you like annoyed by the Americans here?
Sometimes.
I wouldn't say.
Depends how they are.
I could tell she is.
Now the
like,
interesting thing is,
irritated by
I love to
somebody.
drag the U.S. to
Some
the mud and
American over there
criticize
is
it
irritating
for all
her.
the things that I think it deserves criticism
Sure.
for. But the second the Brits start criticizing me or the
Yeah, you
U.S.,
gotta, like,
you have nothing
defend
to
us,
say.
bro.
Kind of like
Facts.
I can criticize where I grew up,
Come
but
on,
you
man.
aren't allowed to. And the British,
Come on, man.
in my opinion, are doing their version of the same thing, criticizing themselves to no end, but no one wants an outside opinion. Maybe we all do this. I think we all do this. It's like pointing at someone else's flooding house when your own house is on fire.
So I lived in America for 6 years. I lived in California,
Yeah,
Alabama,
I was gonna say that, bro. He Cali all day, big Cali vibes for sure. Even just the hair with the white tee. I think that's a V-neck.
Oklahoma for 3 years. Everyone hears my accent,
Yeah.
and it's like, "Oh, where in America are you from?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Bro, I'm actually from Australia," but
Wow.
then they
You
give me their
Cali
little
all
opinions
day,
on
for
American
sure.
stuff. So I've actually had to
He
play
Australian.
defense.
Whoa. He got everything in one. That's why he brought up Australia earlier. I was wondering why he said that because nobody was talking about Australia. He's Australian? No, what?
But then they give me their. Everyone hears my accent,
Yeah.
and it's like, "Oh, where in America are you from?" I'm like, "Bro,
Yeah.
I'm actually from Australia," but then
Wow.
they give me their little opinions on
He a
American
trickster.
stuff.
He got
So
tricks
I've
up
actually
his
had to
sleeve, bro.
play defense a couple times since I've been out here.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. I'm so serious. 'Cause they talk
Bro,
about
then he
guns, they talk
sound
about-
like somebody, bro. Then he sound like an American for the way that he said, I'm so serious. He sound like a black dude, some dude from over here. Cali vibes, for
defense
sure.
a couple times since I've been out here.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. I'm so serious. They
Sound
talk
like somebody
about
from the
guns. They
South,
talk
bro.
about this, but they don't have like a very good understanding. Not just English people. This is people around the world, even in Australia, of the history of America and why those things became what they were. People trying to, throw rocks and then hide their hands.
Yeah.
They don't want the blame to be on them, so it's easy to put it on the big superpower that is on everyone's TV.
My perception is I think it's a bit more apparent than it is in the UK, but the UK is just as problematic.
There's always sort of a sense in the past.
Y'all
that,
over there wearing the
America was
COVID
sort of,
mask? Or no?
2 decades ahead of what was happening in this
Right.
country. There is a sense that we're getting closer
Interesting.
in a time
This
frame.
is a unique couple
I would
right
say
here. I
younger
like that.
generations tend to be a bit more, and the only word I can think of it is
shameful
you got an Indian
of
woman
the
right
heritage.
here
I
with,
think it's a
like,
lot of
the
things
UK
from
accent.
like colonialization and things like that. There tends to be a
This
little
is
more
interesting, bro.
shame
There's so many different
around
things
it.
We're
in
a
one
small
pot.
island,
Just
right? So we've got a small island mentality.
Boil
But
together.
because we've got a small island mentality, we've got
So
to
Britain is
overcome
the
it
small
by
island.
kind of that impression that we're the best. And I think that's changing, though. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a total reflection of
Wait,
society.
do they think
to
they're the
overcome
best?
it. Island mentality, but because we've got a small island mentality, we've got to overcome it by kind of that impression that we're the best. And
wait, the Britain. Is that how y'all feel about us whenever we say we the best? Cause hearing her say that they think they the best, it just doesn't even click in my mind. How could they possibly think they're the best? The best at what? What are the, I never even hear Britain say this. What are you the best at? Since when? I could see if China says that. I can understand that. If China says it, it makes sense. Okay. Australia has no business saying. Hey, look, Australia has no business even mumbling the words that they're the best. Canada should not be saying they're the best at anything. Bro, Britain is the best at what? Since when? Any American watching this, have you ever heard somebody from over there say we're the best or say that they're the best and then have anything to really back that up with? Honestly, I look at that as they're just copying Americans once again, bro. Like, they're just saying what we do. They're copying what we say, because who are you the best at?
I think
That's how I
mentality, we've got
feel.
to
Let me know, though.
overcome
Am I
it
tripping?
by kind of that impression that we're the best. And I think that's changing, though. I
No
wouldn't
way.
say it's necessarily a total reflection of society now, but I think historically it has
We
been,
all,
of
I
course.
guess, think that
Let's
shit.
flip the question. How are Americans perceiving the British?
My answer to that is there is a power dynamic going.
Bro, when I think of Britain, I think of like tea party. I think of having teas and having to put a napkin in my shirt as a bib, and then having to know where to put the fork, the spoon, and the knife, having to set the table, make sure every time I get up, push my chair in. That's what I think of whenever I think of UK. Or
going
Britain,
on.
I should
And
say.
for better or for worse, the U.S. is much more of a world superpower right now. So I don't think that the U.S. feels threatened necessarily, like
But this
competitive
camera is
with
crystal.
Great Britain. Because of that, I think there's kind of like they're cute towards the British. I find our rivalries as human beings across cultures, across nations, to be comical and interesting. It's like an insight into human psychology. And despite all of the, criticizing going on here, I'd like to end on a positive note. I'd like to
What's the
express my
positive note,
appreciation
bro?
for a few things that I think the British do better than Americans. Your healthcare
What?
system, for one.
True.
Also, the Premier League. They say football was invented in England, and if that is true, as someone with Argentinian background, I can only thank you. I also have to thank you for your incredible music. What a contribution to our collective heritage.
Nah,
it is a foreign idea.
I do appreciate y'all rappers though, cause I have been heavy off of the UK rappers lately, bro. The Britain, the London rappers, I've been heavy off of them, so I do appreciate that too. I agree with that one.
To me, to have a royal family, but I respect the
It's only
commitment
like
to
2 or
tradition.
3,
But I
but
did
that's
move
enough.
here the week that the Queen died. So it was really interesting to see. I think my first impression of like the British as a public was that of like mourning for their queen. The
you guys have a
14-hour long line to go see her
queen,
lying
bro.
in state. So I think it was a little bit of a shock. This might sound silly, but how
14-hour
procedural
line,
the
I'll be
British can be.
damned.
I noticed that tends to be like.
I'll be damn, I stand in line for 14 hours to see what are you really seeing? Like, you don't see her. What are you seeing? Where she was buried or something? 14 hours? That's ridiculous, bro. Fuck no.
British person I've met tends to be very procedural, as opposed to
What would you call
Americans.
that
I think
system?
are a little bit more, like dare I say, free-spirited or individualistic. So I mean, I think that's not to say that one is
Mentally,
better
but
than the
not
other.
And as a
reality,
final
though.
note, we are obviously a world of individuals, and so stereotypes never fully work. Still, I find it so fascinating to explore the stereotypes and cliches that we have for one another. Not always, but often there is some sort of basis of truth there, or else they wouldn't spread and persist as they do. Anyway, having
All right,
said all of that,
facts.
I hope you enjoyed this video.
Right, it wouldn't be a typical, it wouldn't be no stereotype if nobody else agreed with it. But hey, we out of here though, man. Y'all be easy, much love. Shout out to the men them. Shout out to all of the bloody youths watching me, mate. Shout out to all y'all. We out of here. Let's get it, man. 2 a.m. Let's go.